Hey there, TMS Derp here. So, the last two videos I've made on the F117 have actually been doing pretty well, considering my channel size and all that. So, I've been having this idea for a little while, and I decided to act upon it now. Because being they're adding the F117, and my opinions on it is they really shouldn't. I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, I know there's plenty of aircraft that should be added into the game before you start moving on to more modern aircraft. And today I'm going to be listing US fighters that existed and were in production and served that were before the F117, and I think would be actually good additions to the game, and it would help fill out the US tech tree. Even though it is pretty filled out already, it never hurts to add more aircraft, whether you put it into the tech tree or you put it in as a premium or a squadron vehicle. So over the next however long, I will be talking about 5 different aircraft that I think could be introduced into the game. Without further ado, let's get it started. Alright, first up we have the F6U Pirate. It was the first naval fighter in the US Navy to have an afterburner. It was, I believe, it started testing in 1946 and it entered service in 1947. It only lasted a few years because of the rapid development of jet aircrafts, so it didn't have a very long service life, nor were very many built. But it has a top speed of 596 miles an hour, or 959 kilometers an hour. It had the standard 420mm M3 cannons. That was pretty standard in early US jet fighters in the time. The F2H, the F9H, the later F86 Sabres all had similar armament. Its power plant was a Westinghouse J34WE30A turbojet engine with 1429 kilograms of force, and then with the afterburner lit, had 1916 kilograms of force. Its climb rate was actually half decent for the time at 40.95 meters a second. And like I said, it was the first naval fighter with an afterburner, but its problems were pretty evident as soon as it came out. The engine was pretty lackluster. That was normal with early jet engines. It also had a straight wing design, which means it was very limited when it came to high-speed maneuverability and just general top speed in general, because it's below the sound barrier. As for where I think it would go in the tech tree, I believe that it could go either in 6.7 or 7.0 for air. I think that would be a fairly good spot for it because it'd be going against 262s, F80s, just early jet fighters that all basically had the same problem where they were straight wing aircraft. They don't have missiles yet, and at best they can drop bombs, but they also have guns. And because it has straight wing design, it should be kind of maneuverable. It is, we'll see if it ever gets introduced, that is. But I think it would be a good addition for the first naval fighter before you get to the F2. So yeah, that's what I think of that. Next up, we have the eventual replacement for the F6U, which was the F7U Cutlass. This was kind of a strange design, as it was designed with no flaps at all. All it had was twin tails, and it had little tiny flaps in the back to help it maneuver. It was first tested in 1948. It entered service in 1951, but once again, it didn't serve for very long. But there were more numbers built. I believe it was 1957 or 1958 when it was taken out of service completely. Its top speed was much improved, 697 miles per hour, or 1,122 kilometers an hour. That is right close to the sound barrier, so we're getting closer to the sound barrier, obviously, when we're getting into the 1950s. For armament, it had the traditional 4 20mm M3 cannons, but it also came with 4 hard points for either bombs or a very early missiles, which were the AAM-N-2 Sparrow 1s. Not great missiles by any means, but missile technology was very raw in the early 1950s, so it was just given what it could get. As far as power plants, it's got a Westinghouse J46-WE-8B turbojet engine with 2,086 kilograms of force, or 2,721 kilograms of force with the afterburner. Its climb rate was pretty respectable at the time at 73.3 meters per second. That's, I believe, fairly close with the F-86 Sabre at the time as well. So it's alright when it comes to that. It's obviously a little bit bigger than the F-86, being it has twin engines and it was more designed as a fighter bomber than an actual just pure fighter like the F-86 was. But the problems with it was it had horrific low speed handling characteristics because of the lack of flaps. So when you were coming into land and all that, it was a nightmare to try and take off or land. And it ended up with quite a few crashes and killing quite a few of its pilots, so it gained a really nasty reputation, and that's partly why it was phased out as quickly as they could. So, as far as where it would go, I think it could go either at, like, I would say 8.0 would probably be good for it. Right where you're getting early Sabres, MiG-15s, stuff like that, where I think that could fit in. It would probably break right in between where the F9F -2 and -8 would be. So maybe 8.0, 8.3 at most, because, well, it does have those missiles. They're by far not great missiles, and it's not especially fast, but at that battle rating, I think it would be very competitive. So that's my thoughts on the F7U Cutlass. Next up, we have the first aircraft that can go past Mach 1 in the F101 Voodoo. It entered service in 1957. I believe it started testing in 1951, so it had quite the lengthy development process, but once it came into full-scale production, it was the main fighter interceptor aircraft for the U.S. Air Force. It would eventually be replaced by the F4 Phantom, which was kind of an evolution over the F3H Demon and the F101 Voodoo. So its top speed was 1,134 miles per hour. That's 1,825 kilometers an hour, which is good enough for Mach 1.72, which is pretty impressive for mid-50s technology, especially with an aircraft as big as it is because it is a two-person twin-engine fighter, a lot like what the F4 became. His armament, it didn't, as far as I could see, it didn't have any 20mm Vulcans, so the armament were the 4 AIM-4 Falcon missiles. Once again, not great missiles. They, it was a little too early for AIM-9 missiles, but it still came with missiles. They just, you know, weren't great, and they had a high failure rate. Its power plant was 2 Pratt & Whitney J57-P-55 turbojet engines with 5,438 kilograms of thrust and 765 with the afterburner. Its climb rate was a frankly ridiculous at the time 185 meters per second, which currently in the US tech tree along that lines, that would put it up near the F104. It's that crazy with its climb rate. So, like I said, it was its main intercept aircraft. So, it's obviously an evolution over the F3H. Well, it's not an evolution, but it would be ahead of that. But because of its missiles, you can't really put it at like 10.3 or so, because at 10.3 is when you start gaining serious missiles. That's also right about where the F4 starts becoming an issue for aircraft around that battle rating. So I think the ideal battle rating would be 9.7 to 10.0, because that's a really sweet spot with the US tech tree. And there's currently no 10.0 aircraft currently in the US tech tree, because the F8 Crusader got moved from 10.0 to, I believe, 10.3, because at 10.0 it was just demolishing everything and was way too good. So I think that would be a good not replacement, but like that would be a good place to slot it right in. So that's my thoughts on the F101 Voodoo. So that's my thoughts on aircraft that could be easily implemented into the game, rather than trying to implement stealth when it is clearly not ready. But thank you everyone for watching. If you like what you see, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate. And if you would like to see me do more videos like this, leave a comment down below on aircraft that you think should be in War Thunder that is not currently. But until next time, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.